But the story was that Coach Fisher got a 4-year contract extension and named his coach in waiting, his top lieutenant, Brian Dutcher. So now, to the Corky's Hotline we go. Steve Fisher, back on the Scott and BR Show. Morning, Coach.
Gentlemen, how we doing?
We're doing great.
Congratulations, Coach.
Thank you very much. We're very excited.
Yeah, Coach, was this something that had long been in the works? Is this something that just sort of popped up? What can you tell us about it?
It had been in the making for some time, to be honest. We're starting our 13th season, been through 7 athletic directors, and now with the president change, you never know what change will bring. But when Jim Sturk came in, after our first season with Jim, we started talking about a variety of things, from a contract extension for me, and I broached the subject of Brian Dutcher being the coach in waiting. It's been done before. We've been together over 20 years and on and on. And Jim said, well, let me get to know him better. So the dialogue's been going on for well over a year, and he was fantastic with it, as was Sally Roush and President Weber and President Hirschman now, all co-signing what was just announced yesterday.
Coach, when you do things like this, I don't know anything about coaches and negotiations like these. Do you literally sit down and you and Jim Sturk, because I'm sure you guys have a great relationship, and you guys just start ironing these things out, or is this done completely by a lawyer, an agent, things like that? Representing you, I mean. I'm
pretty old school. I went in and Jim and I have talked on particularly. So basically, it was Jim Sturk and myself, and then he approached Sally and President Weber and others to get the ball rolling. I didn't have somebody speaking for me.
Do you ever get uncomfortable in a situation like that? Because it's like, hey, I'm a basketball coach. You want to talk about, the box and one, let's have that conversation. But when it comes to my bonuses or how I get paid, that's not exactly something I'm really all that comfortable with.
You're right. I'm uncomfortable doing that for myself. I felt very comfortable going in and speaking on behalf of having Brian become the coach in waiting, and all the positive reasons why that's in the best interest of San Diego State and our basketball program. But Jim was very, very good in his talks with me in terms of what he felt should happen for me, and I'm very grateful.
Coach, as far as the coach in waiting tag that's been put on Brian Dutcher now, you have got to be incredibly comfortable with the guy that's the coach in waiting, right? I mean, that's the idea. You have enough confidence in him that you're willing to say, hey, look, down the line, this is going to be the guy.
Billy Ray, both you and Scott have, as former athletes, know the importance of a team and a team of coaches that make up a successful organization. And Brian Dutcher, Coach Dutcher, and I have been together for over 20 years now, and he's invaluable to the success of our program, has been forever. And if you've watched me, and both of you have, you know that I'm a guy that is not afraid to give others responsibility, then give them room to maneuver to do it in a fashion that they're comfortable with to get the job done. And Brian Dutcher's done everything that a head coach does over the last 10 years. So I'm very confident that, because I've witnessed it firsthand, everything from recruiting to pregame scouting to on-court coaching to dealing with the media and the boosters. He's more than well prepared.
All right, we're talking to Steve Fisher this morning, the head coach at San Diego State. I'm trying to remember, Billy Ray, can you recall there was a situation, and I think it was college football, where there was somebody who was anointed as the coach in waiting. Oh, you know what it was? It was the West Virginia.
Yeah.
Remember that one, Coach?
Absolutely.
Where the coach, I don't remember the head coach's name, but he had hired a guy who was called the coach in waiting, And then the coach, this is so bad. The head coach, are you familiar with this story at all, Steve?
I am.
The head coach.
I don't know all the ins and outs to it.
Right.
I don't know everything that transpired, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, so the head coach was very uncomfortable that the school had this guy as the coach in waiting. And he went to a newspaper reporter and said, "You need to start digging up some dirt on this guy. We got to get rid of this guy. This guy's, he's creeping up my backside here. You know what I mean? I don't want this. They're going to kick me out." It's interesting that when you put somebody in that role of coach in waiting, that there's a defined term of 4 years. And I guess my question then would be, Coach, do you plan on making it all 4 years prior to turning this thing over?
Scott, to be honest, I don't know that there's a defined term. And we visited on that briefly yesterday, a question on it. I don't know how long I'm going to stay. Who knows? This might be the contract before my last contract. So I really haven't given that a lot of thought. Knock on wood, I'm very healthy. I feel good. I love what I'm doing. I've done that for years. I felt that way for years. It doesn't feel like work. So as long as I feel that way and I'm appreciated and the people at San Diego State want me, then I'll be there.
See, that's interesting.
It wasn't just this year. Now, this was a marvelous, magical year, and I said this also. I've never had a year that I've enjoyed more than this past season. But I have enjoyed my entire 12-year tenure at San Diego State, and I'm having a great deal of fun with it and feel good about what we're doing and how we're doing it. So I have not said, well, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever it might be. I haven't given that a great deal of thought.
Oh, I think a lot of people just read the deal and went, okay, so Steve's got a 4-year extension. At the end of 4 years, when he hits 70, that's when he'll hand it off to Dutcher. And you're saying that's not necessarily the case.
Well, no. Yes, I'm saying that. Correct. Absolutely.
Yes, no.
I got you.
Right. But the idea is, Steve, I can see this as being a brilliant thing if for no other reason than to have a coach that you can introduce to the players you're recruiting, saying, hey, this is Steve Fisher, he's the head coach, and by the way, this is the next guy, and so you need to be comfortable and happy with both these guys.
A lot of stability in the program.
Yeah, I love that.
It's important for a whole host of reasons, and you touched on a very important piece to it. This is a nasty business, recruiting at our level, and people will say and do anything to get an edge, to make people wonder. And people were starting to say, well, he's only got 2 years. He's not going to be here after 2 years. And you don't want to go someplace where you don't know who you're going to be playing for, and on and on. So I think for the stability's sake, but also of continuity and for someone that has done a magnificent job, all the pieces fit.
Coach, before you go, I started now getting into these recruiting websites and trying to follow who the big star players are. And I know that, rules say you can't talk about specific guys, especially if they're not signed. But that being said, you're right. There's a lot of nastiness that goes on in the recruiting world, especially when everybody's going for the same big name talent. How is recruiting going? And from what I understand this weekend, again, looking at all these sites, this is a big weekend coming up for you.
That it is. We have several young men coming in. Hopefully they will like what they see, and we will be able to continue to move forward. We already have a commitment that we're very excited about, and we're hopeful that we will have another 2 or 3 before the early signing period comes in November.
All right. And by the way, when's the first practice, Coach?
First official practice is the Friday closest to October 15th, so I haven't looked at the exact date, but around October 15th.
I think this year we got to do like a Midnight Madness, Dunk-a-thon. You got all these guys who can jump through the building.
Oh, I thought you were going to be dunking.
No, I'm not dunking, unless you guys get a trampoline or lower the basket to about 7 feet. I don't know. Anything like that planned?
We've had it a couple times in the past.
Yeah, but has there ever been the excitement like this?
We've not talked about whether that's in the makings for this year or not.
All right, well, I'm just putting in my 2 cents for what it's worth.
That's a good idea.
Completely unsolicited.
I love the idea.
I got you.
Coach, congratulations on the great news for you, your family, for Brian Dutcher and his, and for the stability of the San Diego State basketball program. Appreciate it, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, man. I appreciate being on with you.
All right, always. Coach Steve Fisher.